Have you ever wondered what life is like for a phone sex operator? Well, you've come to the right place for something a little sexy. I'm your host, Celine Starr, and this is Whimsical Sexperts. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening in. My name is Celine, and this is my podcast called Whimsical Sexperts. Now, this is my first episode. I want you all to know that it is, of course, not my experience talking to an audience that does not respond, but I'm going to do my best to tell you a little bit about me and a little bit about why we're here. So if you're here and you found your way to me from one of my various platforms, welcome, whether you're a client or you're a friend or family member. Thanks for listening in. If you're new to online sex work in general, let me say that it is a whole different world and there is so much out there to explore. And I'm here to help you with that. I'm here to help you learn a little bit about what everything is, the ins and outs of the atmosphere, and how to get started in certain industries and certain platforms that I have a lot of experience with. And we're going to have some special guests too, and definitely some people to give us a little bit more information about things that I may not be so experienced with. So with that being said, let's kind of break into me and why I'm here. So I grew up in a very religious household. I had a very extreme upbringing, huge, extreme, pinned in background. I love my family to no end, but a lot of times that made life a little bit difficult in figuring myself out. I figured my own sexuality out when I was very young, and I find in my adult life I am a huge advocate for people who are exploring their sexuality. Now, with that being said, I worked in the technical support field for a very long time for a very large company. I won't mention that here, but I really enjoyed my time there. It taught me so much about interacting with people and being really an advocate for customers, an advocate for people in general, and it taught me excellent culture. And when I lost that job back in November of 2020, I was really devastated. But what I leaned in on are, what are my talents? What am I really good at? And I laughed because I said to myself, well, your talents are fucking and talking. And being social with people, that's where my expertise lies. And it's not something that you can get in a college. It's not something they teach you at school. It's just something that you have. And so for a long time, I sat and, for about 2 months before I actually lost my job due to an issue with my hearing and having trouble, really performing in that position, I explored the idea of being a phone sex operator. We'll call them PSOs for short. So, I've always been infatuated with this idea that, I could talk dirty on the phone and be sexy on the phone and really connect with someone and still get paid enough to at least pay my bills. I'm not looking to make $1 million. I'm just looking to feed my family. And I think that it's a fair exchange for a small price to help, for me to help someone reach orgasm. And that was really what led me here. And then, I've heard about PSOs. I've had friends who have done PSO work. I've had even family members who've talked about this being something in their lives. And I've always wondered how to do it, but because of my highly religious background, it's always held me back. I was always worried about, well, oh my God, what is my family going to think of me? What are my friends going to think of me? And what are my community neighbors going to think of me if I make this my full-time career? And, I sat back and I told myself, I said, Celine, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they think of you or what opinions they may have of the work that you do. The work is important, For a lot of my clients, it's like therapy. A lot of them live in very closeted lives, and they don't have the opportunity to express that to anyone. Some people are just downright lonely, and I really decided that I shouldn't let the closed minds that maybe, maybe they were part of my upbringing. Not my parents, obviously. They're very open-minded, but part of my upbringing or part of my friend circle or part of my community network, that didn't need to stop me from actioning something that I would be really good at. So that's what brought me to Sex Work Online. That's what leads me here. And thank you for kind of walking through all that. It is important, I promise. I'll try to get through all of my talking points because trust me, I've got quite a few talking points for you that I think you'll find really amusing. So, I mentioned I lost my corporate job in November of 2020, and I made this choice, and I found a training package for PSOs, and I studied it, and I really put my effort into it, and it worked out. It really became part of my everyday, and I have a schedule where I spend some time with my clients, and I have time for personal, and I pay my bills, and that's what's important. So making this choice, while it was really, really difficult for me, and I still kind of question it often, I'm like, is this really possible? Am I really to the point where I can claim this? I talk dirty for a living, and it's getting there, and I really enjoy every aspect. Some things are really weird, some things are odd, and they're new experiences, but it is really an interesting time in my life, and I'm glad that you've joined me, kind of on this journey. I really got in my aha moment when I was doing research on this subject, and I found a woman called Sydney Green. I think she has a company called 365 Money, Mobile Money, 365 Mobile Money. Something like that. I'll definitely include the link with this podcast here at the end, so that if you're interested in her package, you can give her a check out. She is super supportive and really cool. She has a different technique to teaching, but I really appreciate her balls in putting that information out there and really being the catalyst to starting this life. It was really a cool moment to say, I can do this. I totally can do this. No problem. And that was really solidified when I took my first PSO calls. My goodness. So there's nothing like being a person who works in a technical support field, or like a phone calling company field, like say, like you work for a big telephone company taking payments online and you're talking to people every day. There's a difference in the atmosphere from talking to somebody to solve their technical problem to speaking to them to solve their sexual problem. And the jump from one to the other was so empowering. It felt so amazing to take those first calls and to help someone reach climax or reach orgasm, and then know that I had a small part in that happy moment, that little spot that they're going to think about for the rest of the day. And what was even better is that I didn't have to touch them at all. It was all voice-led. And I got to live out some of my own kinky fantasies, with them. And that was so amazing. And it was the fun part of really being involved with all these different callers and these different clients that call in or chat in, and they want to talk. They want a sexy talk, and I get it. People are lonely. We don't always have the best outlet for our sexual tension, or we may have a partner that just there's something that we need to share with them, and we need somebody to confess it to first. And there's always that need. Not everyone has a good friend that can actually be there with them to help them with that. So that's kind of where I step in, and that's my role in this, is being that support, that confessional, or even being that sexy voice on the other line that's orgasming at the same time as you are. There's something definitely healing about it, even if it's raw and raunchy and dirty. Now, that's not for everyone. I will say I haven't had perfect clients and callers every time. There are always exceptions to the delightfulness that most of my callers bring me. There are things that are beyond my comfort zone that I'm definitely going to talk about in later episodes that just, they don't do anything for me. And because of that, I have trouble narrating them to the best of my ability. But, the more varied you are in this type of atmosphere and this work, the better you're going to be. The more that you can adapt to someone's kinks and someone's desires, the more fulfilling you're going to find this line of work. And I feel like there's always really stark line between women who do this work because they really enjoy it, or people, I should say, not just women, because definitely men can be PSOs as well. There is a person who enjoys this work, and then there is a person who is just at it to make a quick buck. They just need some extra cash to do whatever, and they're not really there to invest in their clients, their client base, or their customers. And so they don't enjoy it quite as much. Now, that's not a judgment on anyone. Heaven forbid that I say, anyone else is worth that judgment, because we honestly all need to make a little jink sometimes, right? We need that money to keep those bills paid, keep those lights on and those babies fed, right? So, that was definitely eye-opening when I first started. It's just the difference in people that are out there that need my support. And I realize that phone sex operators in general are a luxury and not a necessity, but when you come right down to it, especially when we're dealing with such a huge crisis in the world, today I'm in 2021, and I say that for future me and for anybody listening from the future, because I don't know what's going to happen from here. Everything's crazy with the pandemic, and, there's so much division that making this change was really impactful on me, but it was the right time. So it doesn't matter what was going on in the world. It was the right time for me. And I say that just to encourage you, because it's always the right time to make a change if you feel that way. If you feel so strongly about something and you want to make a change, it's probably time to make a change. Now, I say it that way because there are always stages to changing, and we're not always on the same stage as someone who may be on the same path. So, slow changes, small changes, but sometimes they have to be dramatic, like a new job. This one it suits me to an absolute T. So if you've listened to me before on the phone as a client, you know that this buttery voice that you hear right now, this is the voice that leads you to climax, and it is a personal voice. It's my nurturing voice. It's the one that I put on when I want to talk nice to someone. And I find that most clients that come to talk to me appreciate and enjoy that. Now, if you're a phone sex operator or someone who's looking into doing this work, it might not suit you, but it's always good to find your niche. And when you find that niche, we'll get on, this is the next part, when you find your niche, one of the big deals with phone sex operating is promoting yourself. So the platform that I use allows me to promote myself internally, but there's also a lot of self-promotion that should happen with that internal promotion, in-platform promotion. So I want to caution a lot of newcomers here because you can get lost in self-promotion. You can get to the point where your self-promotion and your work at promoting yourself eclipses your ability to make an income. And it also gets in the way of focusing on your best work. So while it's important to promote in phone sex operation and have multiple platforms that you're involved with and offer different things to your clients and customers because they appreciate you, try not to get lost in self-promotion. This was my issue, I was not a Twitter user. So let me just convey something to you. I was a Twitter hater. I hated Twitter with a passion before I started working as a phone sex operator, and it is almost a necessary evil because Twitter is kind of a platform for everyone. And while they do lean in on you for posting NSFW content for unverified audiences, it's still the best place to say, hey, this is my business. This is what I'm doing. Who wants to join me? Who wants to check out what's going on? So I would just spend so many hours on Twitter just trying to grow my following and promote myself that I was losing sight of what brought me to phone sex operating in the first place. And that was, making an income and focusing down. So while I have a lot of other platforms that I service, I have platforms where I sell content. I have platforms where I sext with customers and chat with customers, really focusing on the one thing that you're really good at, whether that's chatting, creating content, making custom content for people, or doing audio clips, or just doing this, just talking to another human being. Whatever is your niche, find it, focus on it, promote that, but don't get lost in promotion. You still want to spend time with your family, time with your friends. Don't let it encompass and eclipse your life. It really is dangerous kind of getting involved in losing your reality, especially during a pandemic, like losing that grasp on what's important. So you definitely want to promote, but you don't want to promote too much. You don't want to get lost in it. And navigation is important. So making sure that I fill out my day learning how to navigate social media between personal accounts and accounts where it's all platform related. It's for speaking to clients and organizing with clients. There is a definite demarcation between what I do with my friends and what I do for my clients. And they're both very rewarding different things. But you still have to make time for those friends over your clients. I know, it's hard to say no to that money. Trust me. But you know what I've found is that in my experienced age, I am 40 years old. It is best to keep in touch with your friends even if you're struggling. And I struggle with this myself. So that was another thing that happened when I first launched myself into this business, is struggling with socializing outside of being a phone sex operator. And I'm still learning how to do that effectively and how to really engage with everyone, friends, clients, family alike, and just balance. Balance in everything is really important. And while I don't want to put anyone off, I kind of want to talk about so many things, and it's just me. So I'm sorry if I drone on and you get really bored. I am enlightening to listen to and informative, but sometimes it gets a little long. So I understand if you need to, pause and get up, get a little snack, come back, or listen to me while you're in the kitchen doing the dishes. Or, if you really need somebody to help you fall asleep at night, I'm your girl. In more ways than one. So I want to kind of in this podcast, like where this first episode, I'm just kind of giving you the short and sweet of how I got started and what it means to me. One of the things I want to hinge in on. I don't want to scare anybody, but I do want to talk about the dangers of what I do, where it seems really innocuous at times. What I do is not exactly safe, and so there are a lot of precautions that I take to protect myself and my family and, my life and my livelihood. But I have definite precautionary things set up to keep myself a little bit more safe, a little more safe than usual. So some of the potential dangers of online sex work, even if you're not doing meetups. So meetups, of course, in the United States are mostly illegal if you're meeting up for sex. I know the escort industry gets around this just a little bit, but it is still largely illegal in most of this country. Now, I know in other countries that is not quite the case. So I'm not going to encourage anybody to do meetups, but I will tell you that I know that I have been the victim of almost being trafficked in a very weird way. So I'll definitely tell you guys about that story when we get there. It's a ways from now, but there are trafficking scams out there that they will convince you that you're going to service high profile clients and you're going to do all of this great work, and they're going to take you on a plane to this great photo shoot location. And, and getting involved with that, a lot of girls are naive and they don't understand what a trafficker is. The definition of a trafficker is someone who traffics another person for sex or drugs or whatever that may be. And so the attempt at some of these schemes, these trafficking companies, is they want to get you involved at a low level. They want to groom you for this experience. And like I said, I will definitely dive farther into this in later episodes. I want to devote an entire episode to just staying safe on platforms and kind of what that looks like. Get some information from other girls and kind of share that with you, because I have a lot of connections in the online sex work industry. But that's, it's a potential thing that may happen to you. It may happen to me. You have to be on the lookout for these potential schemes that could hurt you. They could hurt your family. They could take you away from your life. Now, if that's your kink and that's what you want, I am not going to yuck your yum. No worries. But for me, being, abused and enslaved to someone who has a lot of money is not my idea of a good life. So I'll pass. But definitely a scheme that I'll talk about a little bit later. Scammers are also so prevalent in our industry. And, a lot of girls that I have networked with and that I have acquaintances with or even friendships with, they have all been the victim of a scam or two. And some of them are naive. Some of them are not quite so technically savvy. They do work online, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have all of the knowledge, the technical ins and outs of how their bank account works, or, how their Cash App works, or whatever that may be. And they're easy prey for these fraudsters who want to steal their phone numbers to put on their other schemes, so that you're basically a phone call dump for, they may take money for something, but give that person a legitimate phone number. That phone number may be yours. So don't ever share your phone number with these scammers. Don't share your address with these scammers. Don't share any personal information like your for me, I got a forwarding mail address so that I can pick up packages. If a client is really sweet and they want to send me something, they know that I have an obsession with I don't know, like nail stamping, or they know I have this crazy obsession with peacocks and they want to send me some kind of little gift or trinket, or even if it's something expensive and elaborate, I set up a safe mail forwarding address that goes to a post box that collects all of my packages, and I go pick them up there. And I don't ever expose my personal address to random clients. And I'm always really upfront with my clients, and I tell them, I do this for my own personal safety. It's not that I don't want you to send me things. It's that if this address isn't good enough for you, then I'm sorry. Because I've had people want to scam me, and they want my address for whatever nefarious purpose, and I'm just not giving that out, Why? Why should I? You don't need that. You don't need that to get off. You don't need that to pay me for my services. I have plenty of platforms that you can tip me on or buy my content or, call me when my line is on. And I don't need that. The internet abounds with fake sugar daddies and slimy pay pigs, which I'm not really a financial dominatrix. Don't tell anybody. But honestly, I don't like to drain men dry of their money. Gasp. I am speaking such bad language right now. To all of my lovely ladies and men in the findom industry, that's not to knock you. It is an art. The art of financial domination is definitely something that I just don't have, but I do appreciate seeing it exercised correctly. But yeah, scammers are slimy. They're out there. Stay away from them. Don't give them your information. Definitely, I want to talk a little bit about obsession in later podcasts, later episodes, probably during that safety episode. We'll talk about being in this work, particularly voice work. People become obsessed with you, and I find that very flattering. I haven't found it off-putting, but I do realize that I come from kind of a different breed of human, I guess. I'm very unconventional, and I'm very dominant, and that obsession to me is intoxicating, and it can be dangerous because as a dominant, you get a little bit lost in that adoration and that obsession. And you forget that that can lead to some pretty dark places, or even to breaking somebody's heart because you don't do meetups. Because I have a rule. I tell this to every client. I don't do meetups for money. I only meet people in my life that I have a genuine interest in, as far as adding to my personal kink and my personal sex life, my personal relationships. I only meet people I'm really interested in. Now, that's not to say that that won't ever be a client, but one of the things I'll talk about, later on in other episodes is that a lot of people who call phone sex operators, they don't know how to navigate a real relationship, or they just haven't had a lot of success, or it takes too much time. And it's just exhausting to have that real life relationship where you have to not only deal with the drama of, somebody being really clingy or just not quite your fit, and then you have to worry about breaking their hearts, or, breaking them because they don't get your kinks and they're not into your kinks, but they want to try it anyway, and then you totally ruin them. You call a phone sex operator and you get your rocks off that way. And then you have a normal relationship, hopefully. That's the idea. But it doesn't always happen that way. And a lot of men especially get a little bit lost in that obsession, and, they want to meet me. And whereas I'm really an open person and I love people, I love meeting people, I love interacting and socializing, I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. I don't want you to think that I am going to devour you as soon as you get off the plane on a meetup, and we're going to have coffee if you meet me. I'm not going to suck your cock. I think people just need to be aware that it takes a lot more than just a phone call to have a meaningful relationship with me. Now, I do simulate a really good, meaningful relationship, and I'm always willing to let that open up new doors for myself and for others. But boundaries are important. Obsession can be dangerous, but I do want to say that obsession can be really a whole lot of fun too. Oh my goodness. Some of my submissives, let me tell you, they make me feel like I am the most important person on the planet. And sometimes that's exactly what I need to get me through the day. So it's stalker-ish. Yes, you can get stalkers being a phone sex operator, but in my experience, I have not had this issue yet. I'm sure I'm going to collect some experiences. If you have a particular experience with, any safety being an online sex worker, give me a yell. If you want to talk to me about it on my podcast, reach out to me. I'm very responsive. I will definitely take your questions and we can answer them on air, or I can just read them and answer them for you, or you can answer my questions and we can have a discussion. I love an active discussion. From there, well, let me dive into one other thing. I'm almost done rattling. Hopefully the next few episodes will be a little bit more concise for you and a little bit more engaging. I just wanted to give you a good baseline of what I do and how I do it. But I wanted to caution against one thing. So this is the last business piece that I have for this podcast episode. It's something that I did early on, and I still do. I still practice this particular thing, but I just want to caution against doing it too much. So I kind of titled the next part of my outline, Giving It All Away for Free. Here's my problem. I guess it's not a problem. Here is my issue with this is I love to be generous. And when, I'm making a decent income and I'm able to pay my bills, I love to give out content. I love to spoil my fan base. I love to engage with them and make them understand that I appreciate them. I say fan base because of OnlyFans, but any follower, subscriber, content user, content contributor, like anybody that supports me and my content, I will just give it away for free sometimes. And then it's really hard when I have to turn around and say, hey, I need you to buy this content, or I need you to call me on this platform because, I need to make ends meet. and a lot of people have this preconceived notion about, phone sex operators and even the porn industry in general, that they can just get that for free. So why should they pay me for it? Well, a good question. Pay me for it because every time you're going to get a reliably good interaction, it's going to be focused on you as a person. It's going to tailor to your specific needs and wants and desires. It's going to make you come, for sure. If I can't make you come, I'm going to give you your money back. Wait, don't quote me on that. I'll do something. It's going to happen. You're going to have an orgasm when you get content from me, or when you talk to me, or when you listen to my recordings. Not this one. Obviously, that's not what this is for. But, I can be too generous. It can really bite me in the ass when I'm on a paid platform with a client and I move that client off of that paid platform because I want to interact with them more, which I don't do very often, and usually it's the client's choice. I'm willing to, and for favorites, for clients that talk to me all the time and that I want to have a more intimate relationship with, as far as client, phone sex operator to client, content creator to client. I want more access to them and to give them more access to me in return so we can have a better session. I have found that people can definitely take advantage of that. Now, I have the time to go through and respond to everybody. I have the time to say, hey, if you want to sext, if you want to talk sexy with me, come use this platform. I also will not talk to anyone on a non-verified platform about sex because let's face it, a lot of minors get on Twitter and they're scrolling through your content. They're going to see your cock. They're going to see your boobs. They're going to see your pussy if you put it out there. So I don't post anything that's not safe for work on public outlets. And I don't really post anything that's not safe for work on my other platforms either. I save all of that for internal mail or DMs or special content locks because I just don't want to take the chance that I am going to get myself in some legal hot water. I don't like that. So yeah, I think I got a little off track here, but what I was getting at is I give away too much, but it's because I want to. And it's because I really appreciate all of the kind words that my clients have for me, or even the humiliating words that they have for me that make them, hard or make them have the best orgasm ever. I have one client that I absolutely adore, and I think our first session, he said that his soul exited his cock when he came, basically. That he came his soul right out of his cock. I don't even know how to say this properly. But when you come so hard, you feel your soul leave your body. That's a great compliment. That makes me want to give and give and give. But I have learned my lesson, and sometimes it can be really worth it to be generous. A good rule is to be generous, be honest, but be very shrewd and smart at the same time. And I like to think that though I've made plenty of mistakes in the past few months getting involved in this business, those key points really served me well. Honesty, generosity, shrewdness, smart. I can be honest with clients. I can tell them, hey, this is me, this is my life, this is what I have experience in, these are my kinks, and every story that I have is true. Every story that I'm going to tell you is true. I don't make things up. Even though I'm a phone sex operator, and some girls act for this operation, for this business, it's not an act for me. I'm very genuine, and that brings in clients, that keeps clients coming back to me, that makes it easy for me to interact and network with other phone sex operators, even other sex workers in general, being approachable, being genuine, being generous. If a girl is struggling, support that girl. Look back on it and be like, well, you supported me, now let me support you. Keep track of those good little things that happen to you and be smart about it. Don't fall victim to a lot of the scams and schemes that are out there. All you have to do is be smart. Know who you're talking to. Trust, but at the same time, validate. So trust but validate. I had who knows whether he was a scammer or not a scammer, but he talked to me for weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It was an everyday thing. And when it finally came to the point where he was going to send me my allowance because he was a so-and-so sugar daddy, he demanded my address. And I gave him my postbox address, and he said, "Do you live there?" And I said, "No, I don't live there." I said, "That's my postbox, and that's where I prefer to get all of my packages, and all of my, everything that I need comes to that address." And he was just very pushy about wanting my home address and not taking no for an answer. And that's when I put my foot down and I said, "I don't care how much money you would like to give me or how much money you say you're going to give me. It's not worth the personal safety of my family." So Smart, shrewd and smart. Know when somebody's trying to push your boundary. When you've already given them a good option, they're not in it for you. There's something sinister going on or something unusual. That's where that shrewdness comes in, which you'll hear me drop a lot of crazy words on this podcast. That's just my forte. I like the use of the English language. If you hear me use a word incorrectly, what I would like you to do is send me a comment. Send me an email, let me know. My email is selinestar@icloud.com, so SELINESTAR@icloud.com. You can reach me there anytime and correct my grammar. Please correct my language. I will bonus points for anybody that is just like, why did she use that word in that context? I don't know, maybe it'll lead to some fun discussions. Anyway, so that's my first kind of thing here, friends. Thanks for listening so far. I know that it's been a bit of a journey. Thanks for hanging out with me. I do have a lot more content planned for you. So, I talked earlier about covering some other things in future episodes, and I have scads and scads of stories to tell you. I definitely want to spend some shorter podcast episodes focusing on some of the experiences I have talking to clients and kind of some of the stories I can tell you anonymously. Of course, I would never out anybody that doesn't want to be outed. Which, speaking of outed, that may of course happen on this podcast, because I do have some clients who would love to be interviewed just for that outed thrill, that I'm doing something so taboo. So you might hear some of that too. It's going to be a lot of fun. The reason that I named it Whimsical Sexperts is because I do plan on having a lot of opinions and a lot of feedback from the sex work community in general. And I have my partner too. My partner, Liv Harper, she also works as an online sex worker. She does a bunch of different platforms as well. And she'll be here and she'll join me, I think, sometimes, and we'll just have some fun discussion about what it means to do what we do. And you'll hear us probably argue, because, oh my goodness, we can argue like crazy, but that's okay, because I love her and she loves me, I think. But yeah, I live a very unconventional life, so I'm sure that I'll have my family come and sit in my triad, because I have both a male partner and a female partner. Yes, I sleep with them every night. No, I don't sleep in the middle. Yes, we cuddle. Yes, we all have sex. Yes, it's glorious. I'm not going to say anything else about that, but I'll answer any questions that you have. I may actually have a segment that's just about my experiences being polyamorous and how that occurred. But anyway, I digress. This has been a fun time. Stick with me for a little bit more information about where you can find me and, where to follow me, where to send any comments, feedback, notes on how I can improve this experience for you. And, be easy on me. This is my first episode. Give me a little slack. I hope that you all have a wonderful week, whatever week is coming up for you. And I look forward to giving you more insight on this crazy, crazy life that I live. I'll see you back here soon. Hey, thanks again for listening in. To get regular updates, exclusive content, and to engage with me directly, you can find me on Twitter at Sex and Whimsy. That's the @ symbol, and then capital SEX, capital AND, capital WHIMSY. Share this with all your deviant friends and divergent people, as each episode is completely free and easy to find on any platform you use to listen to podcasts. And if you find yourself wanting more, come join me every Sunday for a new episode. Let me know if you've listened by tapping in on Twitter, or come visit me on whimsicalsexperts.com. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a sexy, salacious day.